What if the only thing standing between you and the life you want is a belief you've carried for years? A belief that says you're not good enough, not worthy enough, or not capable enough. Here's the shocking truth. Most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness, success, and love without realizing that what they're searching for isn't out there. It's already within them. The moment you change the way you see yourself, you begin to change your entire life. In this journey through good vibes, good life, you'll discover how your thoughts shape your reality and how self-love can become your greatest superpower. Are you ready to transform your life from the inside out? Let's begin.
Hi, Al.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Book Podcast. Today, we are jumping right into a really incredible deep dive into the source material.
Yeah, specifically, we're looking at the companion materials for good vibes, good life, the inner journey.
Right. And what we have in front of us is basically this comprehensive 12-part roadmap. But we aren't just going to, sit here and read you a summary.
No, definitely not.
We want to create a completely judgment-free space for you. A place to engage in some real talk, extract the actual practical wisdom, and most importantly, stress test these ideas against the messy reality of daily life.
Exactly. My goal today is to really synthesize why these 12 steps matter for you on a structural, psychological, and even biological level. We want to look under the hood.
Look at the actual mechanics of it.
Right, because it's one thing to just say, change your thoughts, change your life. It's an entirely different thing to understand how step 1 logically connects to step 2 and all the way to step 12 to create actual neurological transformation.
Okay, let's unpack this starting right at the beginning with chapter 1, the
All right.
stark within. The core premise here is this realization that your inner energy shapes, well, absolutely everything in your external world.
Yeah, which sounds big, but it's very practical.
It is. We hear the word vibes thrown around all the time, right? It's on T-shirts, it's in pop songs.
Yeah.
But what does it actually mean in the physical universe?
That's the question.
I think the common analogy is to view your vibe as like a Wi-Fi signal. But I actually want to elevate that a bit. Think about acoustic physics for a second.
Oh, like sound waves.
Exactly. Think about sound waves and this concept of constructive and destructive interference.
That is a much more accurate model to work with, actually, because if you put two sound waves together that are perfectly out of sync, they cancel each other out.
Right.
That's destructive interference. It's literally how noise-canceling headphones work. But if you have two waves that are in sync, they amplify each other. That's constructive interference.
And the crazy thing is, we do this emotionally every single day.
Yeah?
To give you a live picture of this in action, imagine you are in the U.S., specifically up in Seattle, on a classic, dark, pouring rain Tuesday morning.
Oh, yeah, I can picture it. The damp chill just sinking into your bones.
Right, you're rushing to work, your umbrella's practically turning inside out from the wind, and you just duck into a busy local coffee shop to get out of the downpour and grab a latte.
The line is probably out the door.
The line is totally out the door. Condensation is thick on the windows. Now, if the barista behind that counter is overwhelmed, slamming portafilters, sighing heavily, radiating this frantic, stressed-out energy, what happens to the room?
Well, the entire ecosystem of that room shifts immediately. You walk in, and your brain registers that distress signal.
You instantly pick up on it, your shoulders tense up, the person behind you starts, aggressively checking their watch.
Yeah, a mother holding a toddler suddenly feels her kid start to fuss.
Exactly. The whole line of customers adopts that exact same anxious frequency. It is destructive interference.
Yep.
But let's replay the tape.
Okay, let's replay it.
You walk into that same busy, wet shop, but the barista is radiating a grounded, calm energy. Maybe they make a quick, good-natured joke about the weather. They move with fluid purpose instead of panic.
That single person's energetic wave of calm completely dictates the mood of 50 wet, tired commuters.
Right. They are creating constructive interference, amplifying a sense of safety for you and everyone else in the room.
And, the underlying biological mechanism there goes far beyond just reading the room. In psychology, we look at a phenomenon known as emotional contagion.
Emotional contagion, okay.
Yeah, it's driven by limbic resonance. See, our brains are equipped with mirror neurons. These are specialized cells that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing it.
Wait, really? So just watching someone stresses you out physically?
Absolutely. When that barista is slamming the espresso machine and breathing shallowly, your mirror neurons simulate that internal state. Your brain actually releases a microdose of cortisol, the stress hormone, just by being in the same room.
Wow. So when the source material talks about the spark within, It's not some mystical, ungrounded concept. Your internal frequency physically alters the neurochemistry of the people around you.
It literally dictates the reality of your environment.
You are either the thermostat, actively setting the temperature, or you are the thermometer, just passively reacting to wherever you are dropped. This first chapter is a wake-up call asking you, which one are you going to be? Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
So now that we understand we're broadcasting a wave that physically impacts others, how do you actually intentionally upgrade it? The companion guide introduces two figures, Alex and Mia, who guide us through Chapter 2, Raising Your Frequency.
Right, chapter 2.
And what's fascinating here is that the focus is completely stripped away from massive, sweeping, Hollywood-style life overhauls.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, the emphasis is entirely on micro adjustments.
Which is so refreshing because we have this cultural obsession with the quantum leap, don't we?
Oh, totally. The quit your job and move to a cabin fantasy.
Exactly. The idea that to truly change your life, you have to move to a mountaintop in Peru and meditate for 10 hours a day. It's an all-or-nothing fallacy.
Yeah.
But the text argues the real battleground for your frequency is in the mundane moments.
The everyday stuff.
Yeah. Let's think about the most universally frustrating part of a typical American day. The commute.
The ultimate test of distress tolerance, for sure.
Let's say you are sitting in absolute soul-crushing gridlock on the I-95, or maybe you're on the 405 in Los Angeles. You are parked on an interstate. You essentially have two choices for your energy in that metal box.
And the default choice is almost always destructive.
Always. You let the unmoving environment dictate your vibe. You start doom scrolling on your phone or leaning hard into road rage, screaming at a car that literally has nowhere to go.
And then you arrive at your office already biologically depleted. Your amygdala, the fear and anger center of your brain, is fully activated before you've even opened your laptop.
Exactly. And that colors your whole day.
It does. That biological depletion frames how you interpret every subsequent event.
Yeah.
A neutral email from your boss is suddenly read as a massive threat because your nervous system is primed for combat.
But let's look at the micro-adjustment Alex and Mia talk about. What if, instead of listening to a shock jock radio station complaining about traffic, you put on an uplifting audiobook?
Or a deep dive like this one.
Exactly. You spend those 45 minutes intentionally feeding your brain high-quality, expansive material. So I want to ask you, the listener, right now, what is your daily micro shift?
I want to pause and look at the actual neuroscience of why that tiny shift is so profound. It comes down to interrupting the habituation of stress.
Interrupting it, okay.
Yeah, when you choose the audiobook over the road rage, you're manually overriding an automatic neurological response. Every time you do this, you're engaging neuroplasticity. You are literally rewiring your brain to seek out higher frequencies.
Well, I want to ask a practical question here. Is a 5-minute micro adjustment really enough to counteract 45 minutes of brutal traffic?
It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it?
It does. It sounds like a drop in the ocean.
But it is enough because of the concept of the refractory period and emotional responses. When you get angry in traffic, the actual chemical dump of adrenaline and cortisol only lasts about 90 seconds in your bloodstream.
Wait, really? Only 90 seconds?
Just 90 seconds. Everything after that is you choosing to re-stimulate the emotion by dwelling on it.
Oh, wow.
So the 5-minute microadjustment acts as a circuit breaker. It stops the loop. It doesn't mean you're suddenly thrilled to be stuck on the highway, but it returns your nervous system to a baseline of calm. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
Okay, so this brings us to a much trickier reality as we explore Chapter 3, protecting your peace. Raising your frequency is one side of the coin, but learning how to spot and gently distance yourself from draining influences is the other.
Right, ending toxic cycles.
Yes, ending toxic cycles without being consumed by guilt. But I have to push back on the phrasing the text uses here.
Oh.
Because gently distance yourself sounds wonderful on paper. It sounds like something you do at a yoga retreat. What if that toxic cycle is deeply embedded in your daily survival?
That's the real challenge.
Let's contextualize this. Think about a high-pressure U.S. corporate scenario, like the intense trading floors on Wall Street, or a high-stakes law firm in Chicago.
Places where hustle culture is the religion.
Exactly. Places that glorify absolute burnout, where sleep deprivation is a badge of honor and your manager leads by inducing anxiety. How do you gently distance yourself when you rely on that exact environment for your paycheck and your healthcare?
That is the ultimate stress test for this concept. And to survive it, we have to look at a psychological tactic known as the gray rock method.
Gray rock. I love that name.
It aligns perfectly with Alex and Mia's idea of gentle distancing. It doesn't mean storming into your boss's office, giving a dramatic speech, and quitting without a safety net.
Right, which would be disastrous.
Gentle distancing in an unavoidable toxic environment is about quietly withdrawing your emotional real estate. You become as uninteresting and emotionally unresponsive to the toxicity as a gray rock.
But wait, in a hyper-competitive Chicago law firm, acting emotionally unresponsive could be seen as a lack of drive, right? Won't you just get fired for not being hungry enough?
That's the critical nuance. You have to separate external performance from internal emotional fusion.
How do you do that?
Think of it as cognitive diffusion. You can act with urgency on a project without internally absorbing the panic of your manager. You respond with neutral, solution-oriented statements. You're highly active in the work, but completely passive to the drama.
You're building an invisible firewall.
Exactly.
But the guilt aspect is so insidious here. Society conditions us to believe that to be a good employee, we owe everyone our maximum emotional engagement at all times.
And unlearning that guilt is the painful but necessary step to reclaiming your energetic autonomy. You do not owe anyone your nervous system. By mastering this internal detachment, you protect your frequency. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because building that invisible firewall requires a massive structural support system, which leads us to Chapter 4. The self-love foundation.
The foundation of it all.
Yes. The companion text asserts that exploring why loving yourself isn't selfish is the absolute key that unlocks everything else we've discussed.
Because without this foundation, any attempt at gentle distancing is just a temporary band-aid.
Exactly. But the problem is that modern culture has completely commodified the concept of self-love.
Oh, absolutely. They've turned it into a product.
They really have. We are told that self-love is buying an expensive bath bomb, pouring a glass of Merlot, taking a bubble bath and calling it a day.
Right, treating yourself.
But the sources show that true self-love is far more robust than a spa day. It's about foundational self-respect. It's the rigid standard you set for how you allow the world to treat you and how you treat yourself.
And to establish that standard, we really have to aggressively dismantle a lot of societal conditioning. We need to ask, why is self-care so often framed as selfish?
Because a hyperproductive society fundamentally benefits from your lack of boundaries.
That's the harsh truth.
Let's look at the Silicon Valley mindset. This is a U.S. tech hub where your worth as a human being is intimately tied to working 80-hour weeks.
Sleeping under your desk to hit a launch deadline.
Yes. And in that ecosystem, taking a weekend completely off to rest without checking Slack isn't just frowned upon, it's practically viewed as a moral failing.
The biology of that environment is pure chronic stress. When your self-worth is entirely transactional, you only permit yourself to feel good when you hit a target or get validation from investors.
It's an endless dopamine roller coaster.
That inevitably crashes into burnout, yeah, because your baseline frequency is tethered to external factors you can't control.
So what is the mindset flip that the text advocates for here?
It's the radical shift from transactional self-worth to intrinsic self-worth. It's realizing that you are worthy of rest and peace simply because you exist, not because you coded for 80 hours.
You hold a baseline of care for yourself regardless of your output.
Exactly. You raise your permanent energetic floor.
It's like that saying, you realize that you cannot pour from an empty cup.
I'd take it even further. You realize that you are the cup, the water, and the person pouring. If you let the cup crack, the entire operation ceases. Prioritizing your well-being is the most unselfish thing you can do. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
But building that fortress is rarely a linear process. What happens when we try to implement this foundational self-love, but we keep getting violently pulled backward into old habits?
That happens to almost everyone.
It does. And that is the focus of Chapter 5, rewiring old patterns. This section is all about breaking free from repeating emotional loops, healing past hurts, and deliberately planting empowering beliefs.
This raises an important question. How do we actually rewire a brain that finds profound comfort in familiar pain? Because biologically, that is what we're up against.
It is such a pervasive human experience. Let's talk about the classic American trope of the fresh start.
Oh, the geographic cure.
Yes. How many times have you heard someone say, I just need a clean slate. Everything will be better when I move? So you pack up your entire life in Ohio, you rent the U-Haul, you drive halfway across the country, and you relocate to a booming city like Austin, Texas.
You get a new apartment, new job.
A new local coffee shop, and for the first 3 months, it is pure euphoria. But then, 6 to 8 months down the line in Texas, you suddenly realize you are dating the exact same type of emotionally unavailable person you dated in Ohio.
Yep, the pattern repeats.
You are trapped in the exact same toxic dynamic with your new coworkers. You moved 1,000 miles, but you packed your emotional baggage right in the truck with your furniture.
The geography changed, but the neural architecture did not. To understand this, we have to look at the evolutionary psychology of trauma loops.
Okay, break that down for us.
Well, the human brain is, at its core, a prediction machine. In our evolutionary past, predictability equaled survival. If you knew where the saber-toothed tiger hunted, you could predict the danger and survive. The unknown was far more lethal.
So the brain actually prefers a predictable threat over an unpredictable paradise.
Exactly. The brain prefers what is familiar, even if it's painful, over what is unknown. This brings us to a foundational concept in neuroscience called Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together wire together.
I've heard of that.
If during your time in Ohio you repeatedly experienced situations that made you feel unworthy, those neural pathways became deeply entrenched. Through a process called myelination, they became a superhighway in your brain.
So when you arrive in Austin, your brain is subconsciously scanning for people who will let it drive on that familiar superhighway.
Yes, because building a new neural pathway, a dirt road of self-worth, takes an immense amount of cognitive energy. Rewiring old patterns requires brutal self-awareness.
You have to catch yourself driving toward the on-ramp.
And force your brain to take the uncomfortable dirt road. Over time, with relentless repetition, the new dirt road gets paved and the old superhighway gets overgrown. That is the biological reality of healing. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
And as we transition into Chapter 6, Body, Mind, and Energy, the text expands on how we execute this rewiring. It looks at how your posture, your surroundings, and your physical habits silently dictate your mood.
It's a critical reminder that we don't exist as floating brains in jars.
Right. I love the visceral nature of this chapter. If we return to our acoustic waves analogy, think of your physical body as the actual hardware.
The instrument emitting the sound?
Exactly. If your instrument is damaged, warped, or buried under a pile of laundry, the sound is going to be muffled and distorted.
This is grounded in the psychological concept of embodied cognition. We used to think it was a top-down model. The brain decides how to feel, then tells the body. But modern neuroscience shows us it is a bi-directional feedback loop.
The body talks back to the brain.
Yes, constantly sending signals up the vagus nerve to inform the brain of its emotional state.
Let's paint a picture of this for remote workers. Imagine you live in New York City in an incredibly cramped apartment. Your desk might literally be 2 feet away from your bed.
Or it's just the corner of your kitchen table.
Right. It is 8:45 a.m., you've barely rolled out of bed, there are takeout containers next to your laptop, the lighting is dim, and you are slumped over in a dining chair. You have a massive virtual meeting at 9:00 a.m.
In that specific physical state, look at the data your body is sending to your brain.
Your chest is compressed, so your breathing is shallow. Your visual field is cluttered, which spikes your cognitive load. Your brain is receiving signals of lethargy and low status.
Exactly.
But if you take just 5 minutes for an instant vibe upgrade, you throw away the trash, open the blinds to let natural light in, and sit up with your shoulders pulled back, you physically alter the instrument.
You've instantly upgraded your mental state before you even log on.
Right.
Because by opening your chest, you allow your diaphragm to expand. Deep breathing stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which actively decreases cortisol.
And what about posture?
Expansive posture has been shown to subtly increase testosterone levels, which are linked to confidence. You are biologically manipulating your own courage. When the text advises these tweaks, it's giving you biological hacks to support the new beliefs you're planting. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
So once you have hacked your posture and raised your frequency, how do you protect it from being drained by everyone else? That brings us to Chapter 7, Boundaries that Free You.
Mastering the art of saying no with love.
Yes, drawing on insights from Mia and Alex. But setting boundaries is arguably the most misunderstood concept in modern self-help. So what does this all mean for everyday human interactions?
It's messy, right?
It is, because saying no often feels synonymous with rejection. Let's look at a hyper-social environment. Imagine living in a vibrant community down in Miami.
The social culture there is
Very
intense.
intense. There is an unspoken pressure to be constantly visible. You're invited to a Friday networking mixer, a Saturday boat party, and you feel pressure to join the school PTA. Your calendar is a suffocating mosaic of obligations.
The wear and tear on the body, the allostatic load is massive in that scenario.
And the concept of saying no to that Friday night mixer in Miami so you can just sit on your couch feels like social suicide. It feels like failing your friends.
But the paradigm shift here is realizing that saying no isn't a rejection, it is an act of desperate self-preservation.
Right.
This exposes the absolute paradox of boundaries. We mistakenly view them as rigid brick walls designed to keep people out, but healthy boundaries are not walls, they are gates.
Gates. I like that. How does that apply to the Miami socialite?
Well, human energy is a finite resource. If you say yes to every single event when you are internally depleted, you are showing up physically, but your energetic wave is resentful and exhausted.
You're giving them the fumes of a burned out engine.
Exactly, you're doing them a disservice. Boundaries keep your internal energy intact so that when you do open the gate and go to the boat party, you are fully present and vibrant.
Saying no with love is the mechanism. It sounds like, I value our friendship so much that I want to be at my absolute best when I see you. I need to sit this one out and recharge.
It transforms rejection into mutual respect. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
Which perfectly sets the stage for the most action-oriented section, Chapter 8. Manifesting with heart. We've protected our energy, we've raised our frequency, and now we move into motion.
Moving beyond wishful thinking.
Yes, into aligned action. Now, I know what skeptics are thinking. The word manifesting triggers a massive eye roll, and frankly, it's justified.
It's been heavily hijacked by social media.
It has. People think it means if I sit on my couch and think about $1 million, cash will fall through my roof. That is toxic delusion. Manifesting with heart is not a magic trick.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, manifestation is simply the psychological alignment of your internal focus with your external behavior.
Let's ground this in a gritty U.S. scenario. Say you are an aspiring entrepreneur trying to start a food truck business in Austin, Texas.
Very competitive culinary scene.
Fiercely competitive. You cannot just wish for customers. You can't just make a vision board of gourmet tacos and expect a line down the block.
Right.
But when you align your high vibe passion with gritty action, you stay up until 2:00 a.m., filling out health department permits. You stand in a 100-degree metal truck for 12 hours a day. That is when transformation happens.
The vibe fuels the stamina, and the intention executes the action, and there is a specific neurological network for this, the reticular activating system, or the RAS.
Wait, I want to dig into that. How does the RAS filter information for the food truck owner?
It's a fascinating piece of evolutionary hardware. Every second, your brain is bombarded with millions of bits of sensory data. The RAS acts as the bouncer at the door of your consciousness.
Deciding what gets in.
Exactly. You can manually program the RAS. When you get crystal clear on your intention, you program your RAS to actively scan the environment for opportunities that align with that goal.
So the Austin food truck owner is literally primed to notice things they would have ignored.
Precisely. They suddenly spot the perfect parking spot they drove past 100 times before, or they strike up a conversation with someone who happens to be a local food blogger. It looks like magic, but biologically, it is your brain optimally functioning. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
But of course, no journey is perfectly linear. The food truck will eventually blow a tire. Chapter 9. Navigating the lows directly addresses the messy reality of existence.
This chapter is arguably the most vital because it acts as a bulwark against toxic positivity.
This is so important. There is a dangerous undercurrent in the good vibes only movement that implies if something catastrophic happens, your vibes just weren't high enough.
Which is deep victim blaming.
It is. Real life includes profound grief and brutal systemic challenges. Let's look at sudden corporate layoffs in the U.S. tech sector. You can be radiating high energy, hitting every KPI, and still get a sterile email saying your department is eliminated.
Or dealing with the severe seasonal affective drop during a bitter gray Midwest winter in Minnesota.
You cannot just good vibes your way out of a blizzard or a corporate restructuring. And the core message of the sources is that you shouldn't try to. The goal is to navigate the low without losing your center.
The psychological framework that best explains this is acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT. It teaches you the vital skill of feeling the feeling without becoming the feeling.
What does that distinction look like in the real world? Let's use the tech layoff example.
It comes down to cognitive fusion. If you get laid off, becoming the feeling looks like fusing your entire identity with the setback. The internal monologue is, I am a failure, my career is over.
You become the weather.
Exactly. But feeling the feeling while maintaining your center sounds like, I am experiencing profound anxiety right now. This is incredibly unfair. You allow the grief to wash over you without suppressing it.
But your core identity, that foundational self-love, remains untouched in the center of the storm.
Yes, you know you are still inherently worthy. So I want to ask you listening. Think about your last major emotional storm. How quickly were you able to return to your baseline?
It's a great question. You're the vast sky. The emotions are just the transient weather patterns. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
Once the storm inevitably passes, how do we actively rebuild our joy? Chapter 10 introduces gratitude as superpower.
I feel like gratitude is another concept that has been severely diluted. It gets reduced to a cheesy hashtag on Thanksgiving.
Oh, absolutely.
But when you understand the mechanics, it is actually the sharpest tool in the psychological toolbox. Let's look at the ultimate test of distress tolerance. Let's go back to California.
Okay, where to?
You are stuck in horrific stop-and-go traffic on the 405 freeway. It's a Friday evening, you are bone-tired, and you have moved exactly 2 miles in 45 minutes.
The brain's negativity bias is in full swing there.
Exactly. The default response is misery. But imagine actively deploying gratitude as a weapon in that exact moment. You look out the window, and you choose to appreciate the stunning fire-orange sunset over the Santa Monica Mountains.
Or the fact that your air conditioning is working.
Yes. You appreciate the deep dive you are listening to right now. Choosing to fiercely focus on those elements while still sitting in awful traffic, that is the superpower.
And it is a literal biological superpower. When you're stewing in anger in traffic, your brain is operating from a deep mindset of scarcity.
Focusing on what's missing.
It's exactly open road, free time. Scarcity triggers the amygdala, initiating a stress cascade. When you actively pivot to gratitude, you are forcing the prefrontal cortex to override the amygdala.
And that changes the chemical makeup of the brain in real time, right?
Profoundly. Expressing genuine gratitude triggers the release of dopamine and serotonin. It also triggers oxytocin, which lowers stress.
So you're literally changing the molecular structure of your brain.
You're thickening the neural pathways associated with contentment. You stop waiting for rare, monumental events to feel happy, and you start extracting joy from the ordinary. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
This profound internal shift leads us directly to Chapter 11, Living Authentically. The text urges us to stop performing, take off the masks, and show up fully.
The operative word here is performing, and the metabolic cost of that performance is staggering.
So much of modern life is a heavily curated performance. The best analogy I can think of is wearing a heavy, insulated winter coat in the middle of a sweltering July summer.
Oh, that sounds miserable.
You are sweating profusely, every movement takes twice as much effort, but you refuse to take the coat off because society told you it looks fantastic on you. Eventually, you just have to take it off simply to breathe.
That heavy coat is the perfect physical metaphor for cognitive dissonance. It is the friction we experience when our external actions don't match our true self.
Look at the intense burden of Instagram culture. If you live in image-conscious cities like Los Angeles or Miami, the pressure to project a flawless life is immense.
You have to always be on a luxurious vacation, always drinking a perfectly lit green juice.
Always relentlessly happy. Performing that persona requires an astonishing amount of energy. It is utterly exhausting to meticulously present a sanitized version of yourself to the world while feeling messy and human inside.
And true authenticity is the ultimate antidote to this exhaustion, because when you are authentic, the friction of life completely disappears.
The imposter syndrome fades.
Right. Living authentically means aligning your internal frequency with your external actions. When you stop curating and start just being, you reclaim all that wasted energy.
It takes incredible confidence to stand up and say, "This is who I am, unpolished and real." But the relief is palpable. Taking off that heavy coat is the ultimate freedom. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
And finally, that freedom brings us to Chapter 12, The Good Life Unlocked. This is where we bring everything together into a cohesive vision for a life filled with real connections and lasting fulfillment.
It really is the grand finale, because the ultimate realization is that the good life is not a geographic location. It's not a tax bracket.
No, it's not.
We've talked a lot about different U.S. cities today. You might find deep community and nervous system peace living in a quiet, sprawling suburb in Georgia, surrounded by old oak trees.
Or you might find that exact same fulfillment living in a bustling, cramped high-rise in downtown Denver, looking out over the Rocky Mountains.
Exactly. The physical address does not dictate the good life. The internal locus of control does.
This final step beautifully synthesizes all the previous 11 steps to definitively prove the premise we started with today. The life you want was literally within you the entire time,
It was just buried.
buried under toxic trauma loops, societal expectations, and a lack of boundaries. By raising your frequency, practicing gentle distancing, cultivating self-love, and rewiring your neural superhighways, you haven't fundamentally changed who you are.
You didn't become a new manufactured person. You simply cleared away the debris so the real you could operate at full capacity. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next.
Looking back over the massive arc of good vibes, good life, the inner journey, the transformation we've mapped out is clear.
It's an incredible, highly practical toolkit. You now have the psychological wisdom to protect your peace in chaotic corporate environments. You know how to rewire old patterns, shift your physical posture, and say no with grace.
It's not just about feeling fleetingly good. It is about operating optimally in a deeply complicated world. We've focused a lot on building your fortress,
Right.
but consider this provocative thought as we close. As you consistently raise your own vibration, as you pave those new neural pathways, what if you become the very force that disrupts the negative patterns of everyone around you?
Oh, wow.
What if your healed energy is the exact catalyst someone else needs to begin their own transformation?
That is such a profound and beautiful thought to leave on. The power truly is in your hands, not just to change your own reality, but to powerfully illuminate the reality of everyone you interact with. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Goodbye, everyone.
Take care and keep protecting that peace.